Hello there and welcome back. Thanks for joining me again as we move on to the next topic, which is Route 53. So, we're going to talk about a review of DNS and Route 53 and what the features of Route 53 are. So, let's go ahead and jump in to the AWS console and take a look at that quickly. Now, I'm in the AWS console and I will type Route 53 in the search box, okay? And this gives me a pop up, so I'll click on that to navigate to the Route 53 section. All right, so here, as we see, there are four main functions of Route 53. There is DNS management, traffic management, availability monitoring, and domain registration. Although most of these are self-explanatory, if you understand DNS and how the flow works, this will become very easy for you. But if DNS is a new topic for you, I suggest that you go ahead and take a step back and learn about DNS and see how the routing of the traffic works on the internet. So when you go to a URL, let's say www.google.com, how does it actually get delivered to your browser? That's the whole purpose of DNS, okay? And this is something you must know and consider this as a prerequisite for this class. I'll start with domain registration as that is a low hanging fruit and we can wrap this up quickly. So as the name itself says that domain registration will help you register a domain. So let's say you want to start a company. The first thing that you would like to have is a domain name for branding purposes. So let's say the new company is www.myproducts.com. Okay. And what I'm going to do is click on check to see if it is available or if somebody else has picked it up. So AWS Route 53 domain registration tells me that myproducts.com is unavailable because somebody else has taken it, but there are lots of other suggestions that it has for us. On the right hand side column, pricing, you'll see that the price is also displayed. The price is not the same for all kinds of domains. Keep in mind that this price is just for 1 year. This process is just like buying a domain from your favorite registrar. It could be GoDaddy, it could be BigRock, HostGator, or whoever you have been buying the domains from. Alright, so here Route 53 tells me that you can purchase domains if you plan to set up a new business and you would like to have an online presence. Not just that, you can transfer a domain as well. This is possible if your registrar or if your existing registrar is letting you do that. Let's say you have a domain called as thecloudmentor.com. All right, so that's thecloudmentor.com, and I'll go ahead and check to see if I can transfer it. Just to inform you that this particular website is registered on my name and it is registered with a registrar called as BigRock. But looks like BigRock is blocking me to transfer my domain to Route 53 because it has been logged. So if I need to transfer a domain from my existing registrar, let's say GoDaddy, to Route 53, I need to contact my registrar and ask them to unlock it and tell them that you would like to transfer it to a new registrar, which is AWS Route 53 in this case. Okay, so the main registration aspect here of Route 53 is letting you register a domain and transfer a domain as well. All right. That being said, let's go back to the dashboard and take a look at the next important option, which is DNS management. So we first completed domain registration, and now we are looking at DNS management. Now, once your domain is registered, okay, you have a domain called as myproducts.com. Let's say you purchased it. You would like to have certain records like an A record or a CNAME record like www.myproducts.com or mail.myproducts.com and similar records like that. And that is possible under DNS management. Now, if I click on Get Started, it will give you an option to create a hosted zone. So my zone name will be my domain name itself. Let's say, hypothetically, I have a domain register like that, and I got to select whether it's public or private. In this case, I'm going to select public and click on Create. There you go. My public DNS zone called as myproducts.com is created. But if I would like to have an A record, I click on Create Record Set and then type www.myproducts.com here. Now, this domain name is automatically added as a suffix. What I gotta do is then just go ahead and type in the value, which will be the IP address of my web server. So I type in the IP address like 23.65.32.52 or whatever is your IP address of your website. Okay, go ahead and click on create. Similarly, you can create the record for your mail. So that will be, let's say, 58.65.96. Let's say 34. I'm just typing in some random public IP address here and click on create. All right, so as you see, we can create multiple record sets, not just A records, but you got options to create a CNAME, MX record, a record for IPv6, TXT, etc. as you see in this drop-down menu. So the DNS registration option will let you create the DNS records, all right? So we looked at two options. One is registered domains, and the second one was DNS registration. Let's take a look at traffic policies. So I'm going to click on traffic policies now, and then click on create traffic policy. I'll just give some random name to it. Let's say traffic policy 1 or something, and click on next. Now, as you see, you got a nice blank slate here. You might be wondering what we can do with this. Well, what you can do here is manage the traffic as and when it arrives into your data center in Amazon. Now, let's say I click on connect, and it gives me various options like weighted rule, failover rule, geolocation rule, latency, multi-valued, and geo-proximity. Now, with these rules, you can set and define how the traffic must be routed into your AWS data centers or even outside AWS. Just for an example, I'll click on weighted rule and then I'll type in a number, let's say 70, and then here 30. It just means that 70% of the traffic goes to the endpoint that you define here, and then 30% of the traffic goes to an endpoint that you're defining here. Now, these could be public IP addresses, which can be routed to other cloud providers' location as well. It could be on your premise as well, or within AWS. In the first drop-down menu, you can select if the traffic needs to go to one of these endpoints. So if you have your application hosted on, let's say, ELB application load balancer, right? Well, of course, this option is grayed out for me because I do not have any application load balancer. But if you had your load balancer in any of the regions, you would be able to see that in the drop-down menu. Not just load balancer, you can also select S3 bucket. So if you have hosted a static website in S3, you should be able to see that as well. But basically what I'm saying is that with weighted rule or a weighted traffic policy, you can distribute the traffic based on the numbers that you define here. Okay. Now, if I just close it and take a closer look at the other option, there's a failover rule. Now, with this, what I can say is that all of the traffic, the 100% of the traffic goes to the endpoint that you define here. But just in case that goes wrong, or just in case that goes down because this endpoint in that particular region is disturbed, or that region is facing a calamity, in that case the traffic can be redirected to a secondary region. That's what failover means. Okay, now I'll close this and take a look at the other option, which is geolocation rule. Now here you can distribute the traffic based on a particular region. The traffic originating from Europe goes here, and the traffic originating from, let's say, a particular country. Let's say I want people from Bahrain to get into this particular region, to be routed to this particular endpoint that you define here. Okay, so that's what geolocation is. Now, at this level, for the essentials or at the practitioner level, you really do not need to know all of this, but I just wanted to tell you the power of traffic policy, that you will have multiple traffic policies to work with depending on the kind of routing that you would like to see in your web application. So that was about traffic policy. So far we understood about registered domains, where you can register and transfer domains, and then we learned about DNS, where you can host the zones and create your own records, and then you got traffic policies, where you can create your custom routing configurations and distribute the traffic accordingly. The last and the very important point is the health checks. How will you get to know if a particular endpoint is not working? Right? So let's say you got multiple load balancers and you got web applications at a global scale. How would you ensure that that load balancer hosted in North Virginia is healthy? And if that goes unhealthy, you get alerted. That's what health check does. So I'm going to click on health check here and show you the options that we got. So just for an example, I'll go ahead and type health check as the name. And then you define what do you want to monitor under this. Do you want to monitor an endpoint? Or do you want to monitor the status of other health checks? Or do you want to monitor the state of a CloudWatch alarm? Usually, this health check under Route 53 is used to monitor endpoints. Now, if you choose to do so, you need to tell health check whether you want to monitor an IP address or a domain name. You specify the IP address followed by the protocol on which it should monitor. If it's a web application, you would like to run the health checks on HTTPS or HTTP. But if it is listening on a random port, let's say 8443, let's say it's a Tomcat web server, then you would put that here along with the IP address. So what I'm going to do is put some random IP address here just to keep things moving. Okay, and then I'll click on next. Look at the URL that it has constructed. So looks like it's gonna query the following IP address on the following port using the following protocol. That's what it means. So TCP 8443 on this IP address, right? Hit next. So when things go wrong, would you like to generate an alarm? Yes or no? And that is then pushed through SNS. We'll talk about SNS in some time, but SNS is nothing but the way you can send alerts and get them on your email address, or maybe get it as a message notification on your phone. You have to define these topics in your SNS. We'll talk about this later, but then for now, I will select a particular SNS topic and create a health check. So that's how health checks are created. Just to summarize, folks, in this lesson, we learned about registered domains, where you can register and transfer domains. We then learned about DNS management, where you can create A records, TXT records, CNAME records, and different kinds of DNS records by hosting a zone in DNS management. We then learned about traffic management, where you can create policies to route the traffic to your geographically hosted load balancers or the static website hosted in S3. Finally, we learned about monitoring your web application with the help of availability monitoring and health checks. Thanks for watching this lesson on Route 53. I'll see you in the next lesson.